Hi, my name is Diane and this is my channel, How to Train Your Caterpillar, which is a spiritual life coaching channel. So I thought I would do a video today on how I got into the spiritual thing, because a couple of people asked me in the Madam Butterfly channel and I felt like it wasn't an appropriate forum to talk about it, but I feel like if I'm going to do a spiritual life coaching type channel, I should probably give you a bit of my background, right? Like how I got into this whole thing. If you can hear a weird noise in the background, I have a throat chakra meditation on because sometimes I have problems with my throat chakra, like speaking up and this kind of thing, so it helps me a little bit. Also, like the floor in my apartment is like super thin and I have neighbors downstairs and I swear they can hear me when I'm doing this kind of stuff, and I just feel like they're sitting there with like an ear horn, like listening. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure they're not, but it just helps me a little bit having that on in the background, so that's why it's on, if you can hear a weird noise. So yeah, the way that I got into my, the way that I have my spiritual awakening, I'm not sure how it works for other people. You know, if you want to share how you got into it in the comments, feel free to do so, because that's kind of why I started this channel, like for it to be a kind of forum for people having a spiritual awakening, or maybe wanting one, you know, to kind of talk to each other and feel like it's a normal place to interact, right? Like you don't feel like a weirdo, right? But I met my twin flame. That's how I got into the whole spiritual thing, because I was raised Catholic, you know, until kind of like mid-teens. Like we were pretty strict Catholics, so like, you know, all the kind of tarot and the spirituality and all that kind of stuff was like Satan worshipping. So like I wasn't into it at all. And then, you know, when I kind of got out of the Catholic thing as well, you know, it made me even more like moving away from the spiritual thing, because I was like, you know, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in God, because like I ended up getting into like, you know, I went to university and I studied something that was very factually like science based, and I worked with academics, and then I went into a job where I was working with like academics and researchers, so it was all very, you know, like factually based, and they would just have laughed at you if you came in giving it like, oh, spiritual stuff. So, you know, my mum was kind of into it a little bit actually, but I always just kind of, you know, I was like, I don't believe that stuff, I don't believe it's true, like that's fine if you want to believe it, but you know, I kind of think that what you're doing is maybe a little bad, I don't know, don't involve me in that. But then middle, basically I was training to be a teacher is when it happened, and that's when I met my twin flame. So I don't want to get into the whole twin flame journey too much here, because it can be a little controversial, and I feel like I don't want to say something that's going to upset people. I might make another video on it. If you want me to do that, let me know in the comments and I'll do it, but it would just be my take on it, obviously having been through it. But I don't want to trigger people here, you know. But a quick way you can tell if someone is your twin flame is generally they have something that looks like, you'll share some kind of physical appearance, like some kind of physical trait. Like I have quite big eyes, and my twin flame has quite big eyes as well. Like he's more fair, like he's blonde, blue eyes, but I'm more, you know, kind of darker eyes, darker hair. I do actually take a good tan as well if I'm ever out in the sun, which is never. But yeah, it's like that kind of yin yang thing, like you're the same but you're not, you know what I mean? And I've seen that in twin flames quite a bit, like they have some kind of physical characteristic that is similar. That's usually how you can tell, in my opinion. So yeah, I wasn't expecting to meet them, but I think we were both doing the teaching because there was literally no other way we would have met, because we were very different, like very different. Like it was the kind of person that I would never have talked to him otherwise, like never have talked to him, because, you know, he was a bit of a, like, I don't know how you would say it in the UK, jock is it, I guess what you would say in the US, which I hate exercise and like being outside and all that stuff. Like I'm more of a geek. So that's just, you know, I'd just be like, oh, check out this meathead, like I'm not talking to him. But because we ended up working together, we spent quite a lot of time together. And this is the thing about the twin flame journey, basically you're meeting a part of yourself is the thing, because the soul at some point it becomes ascended and then it splits because it wants to learn more. It's a choice that some souls make. So essentially the souls will split at some point, you know, they will be on Earth together, but it's very rare. Usually like one soul is kind of floating around in the ether, like on, I don't know, Jupiter or a different universe or something, and one of them's down here. But I believe because of this, where we're at in the ascension process for the world, like the actual planet itself has already shifted to 4D, but obviously humans are not quite there yet. So like I think this whole, like, there's a bit of like a barrage of twin flame soulmate connections, which I think has been done to kind of accelerate the ascension process. That's my take on it anyway. But yeah, so essentially when you're meeting your twin flame, it's literally yourself. Like, you're meeting essentially the mirror image of yourself. So what that does is they reflect back to you all the shadow work that you need to do. And when I say shadow work, what I mean is the parts of yourself that you don't want to look at. Okay, so like, for example, I used to be kind of needy, like a little bit codependent, a little bit clingy. I'm just going to give you those ones because that's probably enough to go on for now. That was kind of the things that I needed to work on, right? So these are kind of the symptoms, but then there'll be like, there'll be a reason behind that you need to address. So that the shadow work is looking at these aspects of yourself you don't want to look at, right? Because not a lot of people, they don't want to admit that they're needy or clingy, right? You don't want to admit that. You want to, you know, pretend that you're cool and be like, no, I'm fine, everything's fine, like, it's fine. Like, that I'm, you know, driving people away with neediness, but I'm never going to look at that. I'm just going to blame them. I'm just going to say it's their fault, right? But actually meeting my twin flame, you know, it really makes you deal with the shadow work. And that is essentially what a spiritual awakening is when spirit makes you, or when you are brave enough to look at the things about yourself that you don't like, that are like the repressed emotions, you know, that you don't want to deal with, that are holding you back. But then once you deal with them, you're breaking cycles all over the place, right? So you're going, I'm kind of needy in relationships, and I'm kind of clingy, and I'm kind of codependent. So essentially, once you kind of break the cycle in one aspect of your life, you can apply it to every aspect. So a lot of the time what happens during a spiritual awakening is you end up losing a lot of friends, or you end up like losing a lot of your old life because you just don't fit there anymore. You've outgrown it, you know? Because honestly, 10 years ago, there's no way that I would have been sitting here in front of a camera saying all this on video for people to watch. There's no way. I was cripplingly shy. Like, I would never have done this. My face would have been going bright red. I would have been mumbling, stumbling. I wouldn't have even considered doing it. But because I've dealt with so much of my shadow work now, like, I'm not saying like, you know, blowing my own trumpet here, but that's essentially what the spiritual journey is, right? And that's what makes you free, is the fact that you've looked at these things and you've gone, you know what, I'm going to deal with that, I'm going to deal with that, I'm going to deal with that. Obviously I still have a ton of work to do, but I've dealt with a lot of the stuff that really held me back, you know, because that's what the twin flame does. Because, you know, I'm the feminine, so I'm usually the chaser, right? Because in a twin flame you have one runner, one chaser, right? He vanished, so that left me kind of going, well, what the hell was this? What is going on here? And that is when I got into the tarot, because I was looking for answers, you know. And then I was getting tarot readings done, and I was like, well, sack this is costing me a ton of money, I'm going to buy some cards. And then I was doing it all the time, and then I kind of needed an outlet, so I started the channel. And then I found I just couldn't do the teaching anymore, you know, even though I really loved it. I really loved being around the kids, and I really did love being around the kids, but I just felt I was being very much pushed into this, you know, doing the tarot and stuff full time, so that's what I did. What else? Yeah, that's just kind of how I got into this whole thing, you know. When I was younger, like I said, you know, my mum is quite psychic, but it's not something I was not like a natural psychic as a child or anything. I think I was very sensitive. Like, I was always an empath. I was very, very sensitive as a child, but like never, you know, like seeing spirits or anything like that as far as I can remember. But yeah, so, but the thing is, everybody is psychic, right? I'm not saying like, oh, I'm super psychic. I'm just saying, like, with the tarot, I think if you know, there's usually something for everyone. Like, a lot of people don't like the tarot, but a lot of people like Reiki. You know, for example, I've never really been drawn to Reiki, but a lot of people love Reiki, right? I just feel like there's usually something for everyone that will kind of get you into like opening up your gifts, because everybody has this connection, you know. And that's essentially why I've kind of got into like the spiritual life coaching thing, because it's just, my life is so much better now. And I'm not saying that the spiritual journey hasn't been hard. Once you start to identify the patterns, you can like break them a lot more easily. So, and then that's kind of when you become at peace with yourself, because you find the real you. You know, like, you're kind of letting the real you come out. You're not repressing it, and you're not identifying with like, oh, I'm shy, you know, I can't talk on camera because I'm shy, or like, you know, I'm clingy, you know, or I can't have healthy relationships with people because like I have issues. Like, you get rid of all that kind of stuff, because that's something that's kind of been foisted on you since you got here. You weren't born with that. That's something that you developed. It's not who you are. You know what I mean? So yeah, like, it's, you know, I'm not saying the journey's not challenging, but there's no way that I would go back now, because I think I didn't even realize at the time, you know, it's, I was probably very unhappy at the time, but the thing is, when you're in it, you don't really realize, because that's just your life. That's just who you are, that's your life. And you know, it's like when you see the happy bitches on TV, you're kind of like, well, that's something I can never have. That's a us and them type situation, right? You know, all the successful people and like all the ones that seem really confident and stuff, and the ones that have healthy relationships, you're like, well, that's not for me. I can't have that. That's very much an us and them. You're wrong. You can have it. I'm your proof. I'm your proof that whatever situation you are in, you can bring yourself up out of it and you can be happy, because this is what you're supposed to be. Because every day I'm pretty happy now most of the time. Like, my baseline is happy. You know, I don't drink. I used to, you know, I'm Scottish. I used to take quite a, you know, I used to take a drink like everyone else. I don't feel the need to like drink now, you know. I'm just generally very happy, which is my baseline, which is not something that I would have said 10 years ago. So this is kind of why I'm doing it, because I basically just want everyone to feel the way that I do and raise their vibration and be happy, you know, because that's essentially the end game of your spiritual awakening, of the spiritual journey, is for you to be happy, to feel content within yourself, to be confident. So yeah, that's my story. I hope it wasn't too boring for you to listen to. I don't think I really, well, I did out someone, but I don't know, I didn't name names, so you know. Yeah, so I also wanted to say, if there's anything that you would like me to talk about on this new channel, like, feel free to leave me a comment, and if I know anything about it, I'll do a video on it, you know. So yeah, hope, you know, if you're going through your own awakening, I hope this was helpful. Like, you know, it may seem at times like you're like, oh my god, like, I'm losing all my friends, this sucks, I'm a freak now. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel, do you know what I mean? Like, it's worth continuing on, so you can eventually be free and happy and not have to like fit in the little box that society makes you fit in, right? You know, screw the box. So yeah, like, I hope this was a helpful, you know, a helpful video. Many thanks for watching, and take care. Love and light.